What up, 10:03 on this Thursday? Happy New Year. And Moose, can Dave Gettleman have a press conference every single day?
I couldn't wait. And you know what? He left you basically with everything you wanted from a Dave Gettleman presser as well.
Him delivering means I'm totally confused by the end of the press conference. And that's why, listen.
Throwing the Boston accent and away you go.
He doesn't, I still think, understand that when he's taking these questions and he's doing this press conference, it's not about the actual reporters that are sitting in front of you, right?
No.
It's about the answers that you are giving to the Giant fan at large. And I don't feel any better about the Giants situation after hearing Dave Gettleman speak. I still think they made a big mistake in not taking the baby out with the bathwater. Fire Pat Shurmur, also fire Dave Gettleman. But Moose, I understand it. Now that I know from John Mara and I know from Dave Gettleman, they've completely revamped their entire scouting system. Well, then now I get why you're not going to fire a guy when he's implemented all these changes. The problem is, after he speaks to the public about these changes, I don't feel any better. It sounds like when I'm trying to describe how to use an iPhone to my mom,
it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. It sounds like he has the material, but he doesn't understand it. When you're like, I've hired 4 computer guys. I sat down with a big analytics guy. I don't want to parse his words so much because that can get you into trouble, but just the vibe after that press conference, along with some specific things he said, makes me feel like the Giants are headed in the same direction they were before, which is huge question marks.
Well, listen, it's part of the job. Here's the issue you have with the Gettleman that I took away from the Gettleman presser. You're right. I mean, it's a case of it seems like a guy that's behind the times. It seems like a guy that's not up to date in terms of analytics. Yeah. When he's referring to guys as 4 computer guys that they brought in, revamping and everything and the like. The biggest issue I have with Gettleman is this. After the decision to move on from Shurmur, when he meets with the media, and he doesn't do it all that often, is that he had to instill confidence and belief.
Right.
Not to the guys and gals that cover the Giants, not to the people that are out there covering the Giants on a day in, day out basis, to those hardworking men and women that show up and spend money on PSL, spend money on season tickets that, you know what, I've got this, we're good to go. And that's anything but that what you got from that Gettleman presser. And that's the thing that I look at in terms of he needed to hit a home run. He needed a goal, a Garrett Cole presser with the Yankees. Yeah. He needed to go out there.
That's now the bar, right?
Right, that's exactly right. Because Cole was brilliant that day. He was absolutely brilliant. We were doing a show that day right here on the Fan. He was out of sight. Gettleman needed that kind of a presser. And what you come out of that presser from Dave Gettleman the other day for the Giants is even more concern here moving forward that you've got a dinosaur in the front office running this Giant organization, that he's been given a second chance or a third chance, and he should not be given this chance here moving forward. But the fact that Mara doesn't want to have wholesale change, right, top to bottom within the Giants, that's why Gettleman survives.
Yeah, and listen, you can point and say that, hey, maybe these changes that they've made to the scouting department, well, maybe they've worked because, look, Dave Gettleman actually has drafted well, and that would be the number one thing I would put on his resume in terms of like the pros and cons of how he's done. I'd put that in the pros column. But is your scouting service or these analytics or the numbers you're crunching, like, are they working towards free agency? And that's where I get a little bit nervous because when Dave Gettleman starts describing the Leonard Williams trade, right, and obviously that was going to be a huge question in this press conference. He was going to get multiple questions, asked multiple ways about Leonard Williams because most it doesn't make a lot of sense on the surface, right? And he didn't really have great answers for them. Not only that, he talks about how, it's possible that if they let Leonard Williams walk and he does not sign a free agent contract, that somehow the Giants will get back some third-round compensatory pick. Like, not exactly true. First of all, you're never going to get the 68th pick in the draft back. That's what you traded for Leonard Williams. There's no way you're getting that back. But also, it kind of made me nervous because if he thinks that they are going to get a compensatory pick if Leonard Williams walks, what he is essentially telling you is they're not going to be taking massive swings in free agency. And you have this money to spend somewhere between 70, 90 million. He said he's going to put 20 million away in a passbook savings account for in-season upgrades. Right. Okay. But who's becoming available? Drew Brees. But anyway, I understand it. You want to put money away, but does it mean you're not going to take any meaningful swings in free agency? Because, Moose, the Giants, unfortunately, played themselves out of the Chase Young sweepstakes. So now you do have to go plan B. If you want a pass rusher, I thought the Giants would be out there on the market trying to pay top dollar for one of these big dogs to come in and change their defense.
Well, is he the right guy to spend that money? Do you believe that he's the right guy to be able to bring those big money free agents? Should the Giants do that? He talked about when is this team going to get better. He said it's when the puppies develop, when the younger players on the Giants do develop. Here's the other issue you throw into the equation in terms of Gettleman. What kind of coach is he going to bring in?
Great
who's
question.
the next guy that's going to bring in? Because one other thing, aside from the poor batting average that John Mara talked about with some of the guys that have been brought in and signed by Dave Gettleman, is this. He brought Pat Shurmur in.
Mm-hmm.
And Pat Shurmur lasted 2 years in a 5-year contract, and now he was shown the door. Who's the next guy coming in? Is it going to be Mike McCarthy? Are you going to bring in a guy that's as established as McCarthy? Is it going to be an unproven commodity, even though he has giant ties and a Matt Rule? You're going to look at Martindale, the defensive coordinator down in Baltimore with the Ravens. What's the next guy? Because we could all talk about the personnel decisions, and you mentioned in terms of the scouting, in terms of the draft, and last year's draft was a good draft for the Giants. Are you going to be able to pinpoint and find the right guy to coach this team, to develop those young players, to change the personality of this Giant team, to get them back to relevancy? Shurmur was an atrocious hire.
Yes.
Who's the next guy walking into that door? Do you believe that Dave Gettleman can find and pinpoint that guy?
I don't know. I think that's an incomplete because when he was in Carolina, he didn't have to hire a head coach. And we saw Ron Rivera just get hired by Washington, right? Now he comes to the Giants. He has this opportunity. This is a guy who spent, a lifetime in football. Can't stop throwing his resume in all of our faces, all the Super Bowls he's been a part of. Guys never had to hire a head coach. So we don't have anything until Shurmur. We don't really have much to go on because the first time that he has the ability to hire a head coach, he swings and misses. And so are the Giants going to be reactionary? Pat Shurmur was a little more of an understated guy in terms of, press conference, stuff like that. Never sounded too particularly smart. Are they going to try to bring in someone who's the complete opposite of Pat Shurmur? One thing Dave Gettleman did say is they're not shying away from college coaches because the players are getting younger and younger. You need someone who can connect with those players and you need someone who can teach. And that's, something you wouldn't think would happen on the pro level, but it still does happen. You need someone to come in and be a teacher.
Yeah, and I get all that, and that's fair. But you can look at it. Not every great college coach is also going to be a great teacher in the National Football League. So you can't pigeonhole yourself that way. You've got to find the right guy that's got the right vision for this organization, and you throw in the influence of John Mara, and then you throw in the idea of Tisch maybe getting more involved here for the Giants in terms of football decisions moving forward, because obviously it has not worked. You look at a franchise that defines stability. When I was growing up, when I was a kid, when you were growing up, when you were a kid, defined stability in the for the most part. I was not there when they brought George Young in, and we talked about that time in terms of, I was too young to remember those days. But the point being is now you look at a team that's gone through multiple coaching changes in a short period of time. That's usually not the Giant way. Now the question is, can they get this hire right, and they can go back to being what the Giants have been for the majority, really, of my lifetime, which is a long, stable franchise where they've won a lot, and they've won Super Bowls. They had a great run in 07, great run in 11. We think about the Super Bowl 25 down there in Tampa, the one out there in Pasadena when they beat Elway and the Broncos. They've had some memorable runs here. Can they get back to those Giant days, and which is the right coach is going to be able to do that?
877-337-6666. Want to hear from you, Giants fans. You heard Dave Gettleman. Do you feel better about the direction of the organization after hearing from the general manager the day after they released the coach and fire the coach? Let's go. We're coming to you live from the Town Fair Tire Studios, powered by Town Fair Tire. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. Also, one other thing that Dave Gettleman said about the quarterback that we have to get.
Yes, we do. I agree with you.
It got glossed over. Didn't see it written about very much, but it was a glaring red flag to me.
Well, there was a lot from that Gettleman presser.
I know. I wish he'd talk every day.
I wish he'd do it as well.
I just want, hey, Dave, what up on my tombstone.
That's it. I think we could set it up. Anytime you get a text, I think you would probably set that up on your
That's
phone.
my ringtone.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
My other personal favorite is just, why should people trust me? Why shouldn't they trust me? That should be the tagline for our new show. Just trust us. It's Moose Maggie on the Fan.